Uh, so we are trying to talk about we are here to learn the JBoss Application Server. If you want to learn the JBoss Application Server, first of all, you have to know what is meant by application server. Okay? How does this term application server came in the market? Anyone has any idea about what exactly is meant by an application server?
As per my understanding, Shiva, the server which gives the runtime environment for an application is an application server.
Okay.
When I say runtime environment, I mean like
it processes business logic.
Data sources.
It processes business logic. Okay. Other than that?
It's 100% J2D compliance. Anything has to do with Java, it processes only Java code.
Okay. Okay, that's it.
So for me, it's a server that runs binaries as per business logic.
Okay.
Right, and the required environment.
It also processes static and dynamic contents, both.
Yeah.
Static and dynamic. As if you're there for my WebSphere class, if I remember correctly.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, good. Then I was expecting a little bit more from you there. How about you, Kranti?
Not aware of that.
Basically, it's also take user request, convert into binary zeros and ones into machine language, so it can easily.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, in that terminology, it can provide security, load balancing, fault tolerance,
messaging,
reliability, messaging, database connectivity. Yeah.
Okay. Let me do one thing. Let me give my understanding of the term application server. Let me try to introduce you all people to the application server. And anything not clear, please let me know. So if you see the origin or the history of application server, the application server came into the market because of the disadvantages present in the servlet container. Since we had a server by name servlet container which had some problems with it, okay, that's the reason application server came into the market. Obvious question comes, Shiva, what do you mean by a web server with a servlet container and what is the history of it? The reason for the introduction of the web server with a servlet container is because of the Java programming language. Before the Java was there as a programming language, most of the developers, most of the programmers used to develop their applications, used to develop their programs using an programming language called as scripting programming language. Clear? All the developers who are there, who are developing their application, most of the developers, most of the programmers used to develop their applications or modules using a programming language by name scripting programming language. Clear? What is a scripting programming language, Shiva? Okay, the scripting programming languages are someone similar to your HTML. They have a unique capability that they can deliver the static content. Clear? They have a unique capability that they can deliver the static content. What do you mean by static content, Shiva? Static content is nothing but your images, your CSS, okay, your text data. Clear? So anything and everything that remains constant for a longer duration of the time or for an infinite amount of the time, I call that one as a static content. Clear? Any application, any program, any module developed using the scripting programming languages had a unique capability that it can deliver the static content. Clear? whatever the applications, whatever the programs, whatever the modules you have got that are developed using the scripting programming language, one of the biggest advantages, okay, one of the biggest feature or one of the feature that is present inside them is that they have a unique ability to deliver the static content. What do you mean by static content? Anything and everything that remains constant for a longer duration of the time or for an infinite amount of the time. For example, you take this site called as wellsfargo.com. Okay, when you visit the wellsfargo.com site, okay, the headers you are trying to see here, this beautiful picture you are trying to see here, the figures you are trying to see here, this remains constant for a longer duration of the time or for an infinite amount of the time. Such kind of an output, such kind of a response, I call it as a static content. In scripting programming languages, okay, like your HTML programming languages are specialized in delivering the static content. Since your scripting programming languages are also a kind of a programming languages, we need some server, we need some container to process the code related to the scripting programming languages. The server, the container that was used to process the code related to the scripting programming languages, I call it as an file system handler. Clear? File system handler is a server, is a container that was responsible to process the code related to the scripting programming languages. Anything and everything related to the scripting programming languages, you can comfortably process that code inside the file system handler. Okay, pictorially if you want to represent, this is how you can represent. Okay, this small box is nothing but that's your file system handler. What is a file system handler? The file system handler is a server or a container that processes the code related to the scripting programming languages. What is the scripting programming languages? It will deliver the static content. Hence, I can say that my file system handler is a server or a container that processes the code related to the scripting programming languages and has a unique capability to deliver the static content. Or in short and sweet, I can say that my scripting programming languages is a programming language which has a unique capability to deliver the static content. Clear? To deliver the static content. Anyone? Any questions still here? Okay. Silence. I'll assume no questions from anyone. But guys, remember, I keep on saying in my every batch, and again I'm repeating. Okay, you are my customers, not my students. Okay, you're paying me the money and coming for the training. So anything and everything that is not clear, please pause me up and ask me. If you fail to ask the question, we might not know. That question might be a showstopper for you to work in your company. So anything and everything not clear, please pause me up. Okay. Having said that, again, coming back to our discussion. So file system handler was there, which was ruling the development market because people were developing the application which has a static content delivered by default, and we had a server called as a file system handler which was processing the code related to the scripting programming languages. When this trend was building up, suddenly one fellow by name Sun Microsystems entered into the programming world, and he said that, guys, as part of my Java J2EE or as part of my Java J2SE technology, I have something called as an servlets and JSP. Any application you are developing Using the servlets and ASP has a unique capability that it can not only deliver static content, but it can also deliver the dynamic content. Clear? If it's your servlets and ASP, my servlets and ASP are nothing but, okay, these are the programming languages. This is a technology that has a unique capability. It can not only deliver the static content, but it can also deliver the dynamic content. Clear? Shiva, I know what is meant by static content. It is nothing but something which means constant, like your images or your text data or your JPEGs. But what do you mean by dynamic content? Dynamic content is nothing but, let's say that, okay, I have to pay the payment, I have to do the fee payment to the SVR people. So I log into the internet banking, okay, of my bank, and I do the transfer of X amount. The moment I click on the account balance, automatically it shows me an updated balance. I'm trying to watch the scorecard between India versus Australia. I log into the ESPNcricinfo.com and click on the live scorecard. I don't do anything. Automatically it shows me the updated scorecard. I have 300 emails in my account. I try to read each and every email. Okay, the moment I try to read each and every email, okay, automatically the total number of 100 email count goes down from 3 to 2, 2 to 1, and finally to 0. Clear? Am I clear to everyone? So I'm not doing anything. Automatically it is done. Such kind of a response, such kind of a delivery, we call it as dynamic content. Your servlets and JSP, unlike scripting programming languages, not only has the ability to deliver the static content, but it also has an ability to deliver the dynamic content. So obviously what happened when compared to your scripting programming languages, your servlets and JSP are much more advanced. So what happened? Everyone started moving away from scripting programming languages to servlets and JSP. But there is a problem. What is the problem? The problem here is, okay, to process the code related to the scripting programming languages, we have some flow by name file system handler. But to process the code related to the servlets and JSP, I don't have a server. You can ask me, Shiva, why you are not using a file system handler? The reason is that it has a capability, it has the ability only for the static content, not for the dynamic content. So people, what they did is that they were doing a continuous R&D, and finally they came up with a server called as a web server with a servlet container. A web server with a servlet container. This has a unique capability that it can not only process the code related to the static content, but dynamic code also could be processed. Shiva, an example, your Tomcat. Clear? So, using a web server with a servlet container, we can not only process the static content, but we can also process the dynamic content. But when I try to open and see what exactly is there inside your web server with a servlet container, it had two components called as file system handler to take care of anything and everything related to the static content. We had something called as a servlet container to take care of anything and everything related to the servlet and JSP. Clear? Both of these two put together, I call it as a web server. So any var file, if you are trying to deploy it on top of your web server which has a servlet container, in case if the request is for some static content, your file system handler would be invoked. In case the request is for some servlet container, your servlet and JSP would be invoked. Clear?
Yes, you.
Anyone?
So,
Any questions
yeah,
still here?
hold on. Yeah, so it means file system handler just process static content, but servlet will handle both.
Servlet
Dynamic
container,
Servlet
dynamic
content will
only.
handle dynamic and static together, right?
No, dynamic content.
Earlier you told like server it not only process static, but it will also process dynamic, right?
I told that servlets and JSP are programming languages which has a ability to not only deliver the static content but also the dynamic content. Clear? So the static content part of the servlets and JSP is taken care by the file system handler. Anything and everything related to the static content processing of your servlets and JSP, it is taken care by the file system handler. Anything and everything related to the dynamic content of your servlets and JSP, it is taken care by the servlet container. Clear?
So Shiva, like who decides if like the request will go to this file system handler or servlet container?
That is the intelligence of your server. Okay.
So
I'll give a
web
simple
server.
example. I'll give a simple example. Okay. I'm not sure how silly it could be, but okay. Let's say that okay. If you see a child, okay, when the child is very hungry, he cries. Okay, and the moment the mother starts feeding him, okay, he just takes that feeding. But how does the children know that okay, this is the way he has to take the feeding? That is the intelligence by default given to the children. In a similar way, when we are trying to develop a product, end of the day, if you see a server is also a product. Okay, so when we are trying to develop this product called as a server, the intelligence will be given to the product that boss, depending upon this, okay, you take a decision whether you will process it or whether you'll be giving it to the servlet container. Clear? Guys, am I clear?
Suppose I have a URL, I'm requesting something. So you mean to say this IHS or something, whatever is WebSphere Apache, that decide itself?
Yes.
Or did you just take the case of Tomcat? So, so the request comes to web server, so then it decides process and then it sends to this?
See, actually, which one should, there are two scenarios for here. Scenario number one, when you're trying to talk about a web server like an IHS or an OHS or an Apache, okay, the intelligence is given to the Apache depending upon how you're trying to define your document route. Okay, if you're trying to talk with reference to a server like a Tomcat or a WebLogic or a WebSphere, depending upon what is the URL you're trying to write and depending upon what is the definition present inside the web.xml file, according to that, it will be served at the application server level or it will be served at the web server level. Clear? But I'm saying that my web server with a servlet container like a Tomcat has not only the ability to process the code related to the static content, but it also has the ability to process the code related to the dynamic content. Clear? Yes, am I clear?
Yeah.
Don't worry much, but just remember that, okay? Your web server with a servlet container has the capability to process the code related to your servlets and JSP, which can not only deliver the static, but also the dynamic content. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So, when the servlets and JSP were being introduced, everyone was very happy. The developer was very happy, customer was happy, the end users were happy, everyone was very happy. But one fellow by name Sun Microsystems wasn't happy. Because of his not being happy, he introduced many technologies related to the Java J2EE or Java J2SE. As part of his continuous research, as part of his continuous R&D, there were many programming languages that were being introduced. But one such important technology relevant to our discussion is the EJB and RMI. EJB, as every one of us knows, nothing but Enterprise Java Bean. Okay, and EJB has been origin from RMI, Remote Method Invocation. Shiva, what is so special about this technology and why it's been referred here? The reason why is that, okay, unlike your servlets and ASP, your EJB and RMI has not only capability to deliver the static and dynamic content, but it also has the ability to process the code related to the remote communication. So what do you mean by remote communication? Simple. You must have created your email accounts when you're there in India or in Pakistan. But when you go back to US, you go to UK, you go to Australia, you go to Antarctica. Wherever your internet is there, comfortably you can access your email account. How it is possible? Remote communication. I go on a short trip to US. I'm trying to call back my family in India. I pick up my phone and call them. I'm doing a remote communication. So your EJB and RMI, okay, they not only can deliver the static and dynamic content, but they also has the ability to deliver or to process the code related to the remote communication. Clear? Clear?
Sure, Shiva. This remote communication was not there in Tomcat?
No. When Tomcat got introduced, it wasn't there. It isn't there even now.
So, like I'm like trying to correlate this remote communication mean like I'm not understanding. When you say remote communication means like
sorry. Rather than saying remote communication, you say it as an EJB and RMI based code. Okay, your Tomcat doesn't have a capability to process the code related to the EJB and RMI. Frankly speaking, I'll give an example of Tomcat. I'm sure you must have seen Tomcat 7. I'm not sure how many of people have an exposure to the Tomcat, but till Tomcat 7 isn't introduced, okay, we didn't have a concept called as a data source. We used to follow or implement the traditional methodology for the communication to the database, wherein which we used to define a context.xml file, using which we used to make a connectivity to the database. Just for information. This is just only for your information. So, but coming back to my story, so if you see your EJB and RMI, this EJB and RMI can not only deliver the static and dynamic content, but this also has an ability to support the remote communication. But the problem was here is that when compared to the servlets and JSP, EJB and RMI are much more advanced, has much more number of advantages. But the problem here is that when the developers again started moving away from servlets and JSP to the EJB and RMI, we have a problem. The problem is that your web server, okay, didn't have the ability to process the code related to the EJB and RMI. Why? Your web server with a servlet container inside it, it's a HTTP protocol dependent server. In the sense that you try to talk to the web server, it will talk either in a HTTP or an HTTPS protocol. You send a request to the web server, it tries to generate the response either in a HTTP or a HTTPS. In a similar way, if web server wants to talk to you, it will talk either in HTTP or in HTTPS. But for EJB and RMI, they were demanding for a server to be protocol independent server. But since your web server didn't have that capability, people again started doing an R&D on this. But when they're trying to do a R&D, now they become little bit smart. Okay, what they did is that they did their R&D on 3 areas. What are the disadvantages present in the current server? Tomorrow a new technology comes, how do I support that? And what is my current requirement? Keeping all these 3 important areas, they were doing a continuous R&D, and finally they introduced a server called as application server. So what is this application server? An application server is a protocol independent server which has the capability to execute any business logic. Apart from that, it has an extra added advantages, extra features like it supports high availability, scalability, fault tolerant, security, messaging, JNDI, data sources, etc. and etc. Clear? But if you try to open and see what exactly is your application server has 3 components inside it. The first one is called as an file system handler. Okay, the first one is called as an file system handler to take care of anything and everything related to the static content. The second one was a servlet container to take care of anything and everything related to the servlets and JSP. The third one was the EJB container to take care of anything and everything related to the EJB and RMI. All these 3 layers put together, we call it as application server, which has the capability not only to process the code, but it also has the ability or added extra advantages like messaging, security, RMI, whatever you name it, transaction management, data sources, like that. Yeah. Kranti, Ombi, Diyesh, Asif, anyone? Any questions?
So, Shiva, so what my understanding came from your lecture is this web server is like Tomcat. These were just supporting HTTP and HTTPS, and we needed something to report RMI and other protocols. So we needed application server for that.
Yes, but a little bit deeper if you see here, why I need to support or why my servers need to be a protocol independent, because I had the technologies like EJB and the RMI which strongly demand for that, because when they were implemented, the one of the prerequisite for that implementation was they can communicate with an HTTP, they can communicate with a T3, they can communicate with an IOP protocol, anything. So since the technologies that were being introduced, which was heavily used by developers, demand for such kind of a requirement, people started doing the R&D. So when they did an R&D, when they came back with a server called as an application server, what is this application server? An application server is a protocol independent server in the sense we can go and talk to the protocol with a HTTP, HTTPS, T3, any protocol. So internally how it converts that, it's not my headache. I put some application inside an application server, I come and talk to that with a web service protocol or with an IOP protocol, I should get a response. Clear?
Yeah.
Anyone? Any questions?
So if for example, for future technology, something came up in future, so we need to add a 4th box, or just that container, or
see, actually till application server is there, these 3 boxes or these 3 compartments would be sufficient.
No, I'm just trying to understand, is it intelligent enough that we just have to add a container and it will handle itself, or we need to revamp it totally?
Okay. Sajjad, I want to answer this question with an example. Are you from India?
From Pakistan.
Oh, I'm not sure what is the toothpaste that was being introduced in Pakistan. Okay, but if you go back,
take Dentonic tooth, powder. It's India also have same product.
okay, but actually, if I remember, my dad or my uncles used to say that, okay, when they want to do this brushing, they used to do with a charcoal or with a salt.
Yeah.
Okay, they say that's very good for health. Then this fellow called Colgate closed up. Pepsodent people came into the market, and they said that, hey, we have so and so things in our toothpaste, which is the best for your tooth or teeth. Then everyone started using it. But nowadays, everyone started realizing the importance of Ayurvedic. Okay, everyone started becoming health conscious, and they were trying to look out for the natural products. So, seeing this trend in the market, Colgate people or Pepsodent people or the other toothpaste people say that, hey, in our toothpaste called as Colgate, we have a technology, or we have this toothpaste manufactured with a salt, which is really good for your health, because salt will help you to kill the germs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is the summary of the story is that, okay, the company people, they say it's a best, but that best or it's a perfectly suited it's only valid for a certain time. As the market changes, the product itself changes. Okay, initially it didn't have a salt content, now it had a salt content, which they again saying it's best for the tooth. In a similar way, application server, when it is being introduced, it has certain features. Tomorrow, other than Java, we have some other bigger technology which is a better or best compared to the Java. Corresponding to that, we'll need another server, which might be a 3-tier architecture or a 4-tier architecture, or might be a 6-tier architecture. Clear?
Okay, got it.
Am I able to answer your question?
Yeah, it's okay. I got it.
Okay. Other than this, okay, anyone, any more questions? Kranti, Asif, Digesh. For Asif, it will be like a repetitive story. I know that. How about you, Kranti? Is it clear? Okay.
Yeah.
Clear?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So how does this? Anyone, any more questions? Okay. So since you all don't have any question, Asif, please don't answer this question, because I remember asking this question in my WebSphere class also. So don't answer this question. Yeah. Okay. The others, okay. We talked about something called as a server, be it be web server, be it be file system handler, be it be application server, be it be any server. We talked about what is meant by server close to for 35 minutes. First of all, why do I need a server? Why can't I directly execute my code? A developer has given me code. Why can't I directly execute it? Why do I need a fellow by name server in the middle?
So as when you ask about the application server, so I mentioned in order to
be it application server, web server,
to execute the binaries as per business logic, right? So I can modify for server to execute the binaries.
I don't have any big binaries.
So, Shiva, in that case of scenario, like every executor has to do all this stuff. So it is like I have already environment created, all the support items I have. So if I want to execute something, so I have to write every code for messaging, for data source access, everything for security. So it is already there. It is like I am just renting an apartment, or like instead of making a separate house where I have to
Let's
create
take
everything.
this example, Omid, to update you. I don't have any. I have got a simple application called as an A plus B plus C. To execute this Java application called as an A plus B plus C, I need a server. I don't have a data source. I don't have a transaction management. I don't have a messaging system. Simple code which does the summation of 3 numbers, A plus B plus C. For this one also I need a server. Why? Except ASIC.
So somewhere I have to execute it. Some server I need, right? Some location.
Why?
To serve. So how I will execute it?
That's the
I
reason
need
I'm
some
asking.
machine.
Why you need to execute it?
Why I need to see? Suppose I want to add two numbers, so I have to do 2 plus 2. And
Yes,
to do
do
2
it.
plus 2, I need a calculator some where I will execute that.
Okay. You are trying to get an answer, but you're not trying to get the what you can say the answer which I want, or you can say the answer what exactly is needed. Okay. How about others? Kranti or Digesh?
I think to maintain in a centralized server.
I don't. Okay. My application is one of the most non-critical application. It's like a police department of India. Okay, they got this FIR system. FIR system, people say it's very critical, mandatory, but anytime and every time it can be modified. So such kind of a system I got. I don't want to maintain any centralized system. Okay, let me answer that. Okay, you go to a Chinese country. You all people been in US for a very long time, or in Canada for a very long time. You earned a lot of money. You want to start a new business. Out of all the countries in the world, compared to India or Pakistan, you felt that Chinese people will work for you at a very cheaper price. So you went to China and started thinking of starting a company there. You go to a local person over there, you talk to him. Although that fellow talks in English, you feel that fellow tries to talk to you in Chinese. Correct or not? His English also will be like a Chinese. So what we do, we don't know what that fellow is trying to do. We hire a translator. We ask him to sit in between us, okay? And whatever we are trying to say to him, he'll try to convert into the format that fellow can understand. Whatever that fellow is trying to say, okay, he'll try to convert into the format I can say. In a similar way, if you see the program also, any programs you have got, okay, developed using any programming technology like a Java JTW in our context, these programs, these applications, when they're developed, they are developed using a programming language which is a alphanumeric language. We need some interface, we need some translator to convert this one into the machine understandable format. That's the reason, that's a primary reason why we need a server. Apart from that, whatever the other things like centralized management system, transaction, security, web services, okay, SOAP, UI processing, these are all added advantages. Clear? Am I clear?
Yes, clear.
How about others? Kranti, Ombi, Sajat, Digesh.
Basically, it's converting to machine language zeros and ones and binaries, so it can be
Shiva, like this interpreter compiler, I can simply install on a PC. Also, like I still didn't get that. Like
okay, interpreter or a compiler, if you see here, we get that one with a JVM. Okay, if you see a JVM, okay, I get something really out of the box, but if you people are interested, I can talk on that. If you see the JVM, depending upon the vendor you are using, okay, for example, if you're trying to use a Sun JVM, okay, we have the interpreter or a compiler and compiler. But if you're using a JRocket JDK, okay, it has only a compiler. If you're using a HP JDK, it has only an interpreter. So this interpreter is actually your machine. Okay, you go to a gym, you feel tired and you want to have a juice. You put your oranges inside the mixer. Okay, so if you ask me why you need a mixer, the basic purpose of I buying a mixer is that, okay, it will process my fruits and it will give me a juice. Apart from that, my mixer also has a capability to churn the buttermilk. It has a capability to grind my pulses. It has a capability to prepare the atta for me. So these are all extra added advantages. But what is the basic purpose of a mixer? The basic purpose of me buying a mixer is that it will help me to get a fruit juice. Clear? In a similar way, in every server we have a JVM, which in turn has an interpreter or a compiler or both of them, which actually are the core capability of your server. Apart from that, you have extra added advantages. So depending upon your requirement, you try to go to the corresponding vendor and buy the corresponding server. It might be a JBoss, it might be a WebLogic, it might be a WebSphere, it might be a Tomcat, it might be an Oracle server. So what is your requirement? According to that, you make a call of what server to buy. Clear?
Yeah.
Anyone? Any questions? Okay. Silence. I'll take it as a no. Kranti, you have any questions? I seem you to be very silent.
No, Shiva.
Okay. Excellent. So we know what is meant by server. We know what is the purpose of a server. Sure, can you now define what do you mean by JBoss application server? A JBoss application server is an application server coming from Red Hat or JBoss.org, okay, which is 100% Java J2EE compliant application server. Clear? See my JBoss application server. My JBoss application server is an application server which is 100% Java J2EE compliant application server. Sure, I understand what you mean by Red Hat or JBoss.org, but what do you mean by 100% Java J2EE compliant? When the term application server was being introduced into the market, it was something like a IT market in the US. Okay, it was like a real estate market in India. Everyone started saying that in my, near to my land you will get an IT hub. Near to my land you will get a outer ring road. So everyone started stating that. But in order to bring a quality out of it, the Sun Microsystems company, which was a primary person for the introduction of Java and hence web server or application server, they said that, boss, if I want to certify your server as an application server, it has to have all these features. It has to implement certain guidelines. If it is able to implement all those guidelines, all those rules and regulation, I'll certify your product as an application server. Your JBoss application server has 100% implemented those guidelines, those rules, those processes. That's the reason I call my JBoss application server as a 100% Java J2EE compliant application server. Clear? Anyone? Any questions?
So Shiva, it is 100% compliant with Java. Does it support anything else also apart from this?
No. Only and only Java.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone? Any questions?
Sir, can you please repeat about this Java compliant application server again?
Okay, very simple. Okay, see, I'm saying that I'm a JBoss admin. Kranti is a JBoss admin. Shiva is a JBoss admin. We both go for an interview. We both get the same feedback. We both get the same marks. Okay, everything is the same. But company wants to make a decision whether I need to take Kranti or whether I need to take Shiva. So what will happen? Unfortunately, in a Shiva's resume, they're seeing that he is a Red Hat certified. What will happen? My preference will be more when compared to you. Why? Because when I'm saying that I'm a Red Hat certified, that means to say that they think that this fellow has a more quality, more technology when compared to Kranti. Clear? In a similar way, when the term application server was being introduced, every company started saying that, boss, my server is an application server. My container is an application server. Everyone started labeling the server as an application server. To bring out a quality, to bring out a real server, to confirm a particular server as an application server, Sun Microsystems said that, boss, I'll certify your product as an application server, provided you implement these guidelines, you implement certain processes, you implement certain features. So any server and every server that has followed all those guidelines of your Sun Microsystems company, we used to call them as an application server. Your JBoss application server, be it be coming from the Red Hat or jboss.org, has 100% implemented all those guidelines, all those rules and regulations. That's the reason I call that server, JBoss Application Server, as an 100% Java J2EE compliant application server. Clear?
Yeah.
I have a question, Shiva. Is there any future technology you see which can challenge the Java compliance and Java technologies?
No, yeah, don't say that. Okay, I invested my 10 years of my life in Java. Okay, if some other new technology comes, first person will be troubled is Shankar or Shiva. So don't ever say that. Okay, and just for information, but I'm sure, pretty much sure, only my guess, I'm sure that there won't be any other technology. The reason why I'm saying that one is because your Java is not only used to develop your application, but many big products like Cognos, Pegasystems, okay, mobile vendors, most of them go with an open source technology like Java for their products. So if something replacement of a Java comes, all these products have to be reinvented. I'm just making a guess.
Okay.
But IT is something like a girl, which is always very dynamic, difficult to predict.
Okay.
Clear?
Yep.
Anyone? Any more questions? Okay. Anyone? Any questions?
No.
Okay. Silence. I'll take it as a no. If you don't have any questions, okay. Let me pause here for today. Little bit tired. Okay. Tomorrow when we resume back, we'll try to understand only about the JBoss Application Server. What is this JBoss Application Server from Red Hat? What do you mean by Community Edition? What do you mean by Enterprise Edition? What are the basic concepts to be known in the JBoss Application Server? And if possible, we'll also try to know theoretically about the installation. Clear?
Yeah, one more question, Shiva. Did you see my recommendation suggestion for course addition?
I haven't got any email from Daniel. Let me once again cross-check with him. Did you send that email today? Or
Yeah, I sent it like 13 hours ago in the morning time of Toronto, 8 a.m. So
then I haven't got that. Okay, let me once again cross-check with Daniel.
Yeah, I sent it to Shiva. I sent to SVR Tech in an email address.
Okay, let me just check that and confirm you. Okay, I haven't received that email at least 1 or 2 hours back. Okay, let me cross-check myself and confirm you on that. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. So, anyone else? Any more questions before we pause here for today?
So Shiva, did any one of these use Tomcat for development, like out of web?
Okay. Tomcat, if JBoss is heavily used in the market, then I'm sure Tomcat will also be equally important. Not the latest version, but till 5.x, whatever your JBoss is there, most of its features were implemented through Tomcat. So
you
if
mean
Sorry?
JBoss deployment come with Tomcat web server?
Not in the latest, but in the older versions. And answering your question, Omvir, the product-based companies, not the big companies like Pegasystems or IBM Light, okay, or the Lombardi, they haven't implemented. I'm sure they're not using it. But in Canada, there's one open source monitoring company which heavily uses the Tomcat. I don't remember the name of the company. I once, very long time back, for one of our company requirement, we were trying to look out for some open source monitoring, and we seen that this company heavily uses the JBoss and Tomcat. Yeah, again, it depends which server to use. Again, it depends upon a number of reasons. Okay, but yep, companies are there not only for dev but for production also. They use the Tomcat. There is a company by name Kony and Mobile Iron. These two companies, for all of their in-house clients, these two are basically the product-based company. These two companies uses the Tomcat, not only dev but in prod and UAT or the DR environment. Okay. Excellent. So, Silas, as you no more questions. So, always guys, enjoy the day. We'll again resume back tomorrow, same time, and we'll talk more on the JBoss.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
Daniel, I also send you my Gmail address. Hope you receive it today.
I think Asif isn't there. Let me pull him into the call. Okay, I'm calling him up. But please, guys, if you have any questions which you think Daniel can answer, which are non-technical, please be in call. Kranti, I hope you must have made some feedback. You have made up something in your mind related to the training. Whatever is your feedback, kindly pass it on to Daniel, okay, so that the discussions can be taken further. Okay?
Sure, sure.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Shiva.
Asif, you send the information on SIM email address info@svr technologies.
Yes, yeah. Whatever email they send, I just reply all and send. That's the same email I
Okay.
suggest some modification to the course and also my Gmail ID. It's same basically, ikhanasif@gmail.com.
I'm asking. I also want to send my Gmail ID.
Yeah, just you can reply SVR email.
Okay.
I think they have sent several email to us, and you are also included. So reply to any of the email and say this is my Gmail ID.
Okay.
So they can send you recording because they only use G drive.
Okay. Okay.